Hi, everyone. My name's Tom Alexander. Welcome to the FusionShare podcast. My guest today is Cameron Graves. Cameron is a keyboardist who combines jazz, funk, soul, fusion, and more in a variety of musical settings, from leading his own group to touring with the legendary bassist Stanley Clarke. Graves is a leading figure in contemporary music and someone certainly worthy of following. You got to hear his music. He joins us today on the pod. Cameron, welcome.
Hey, how you guys doing? How you doing, Tom? Thank
Doing
you for
well,
having me.
doing great. Thank you. Doing better now that you're here. We're excited to chat with you, and I know that you are a very busy person. You're always going from thing to thing. Um, I we had a second to chat yesterday, and I'll start with this. You told me
Yeah.
that you're working on a musical. I guess it's for your brother's film project. You're doing the music for that.
So me and my brother, Taylor Graves, who's also kind of really big in the industry, works a lot with Thundercat. You
Yeah.
know, he's an integral part of Thundercat's sound. Um, Me and him have a film scoring team called the Graves Brothers.
Oh, wow.
And we were picked up by a production company called Mary Pickford Productions. Now, Mary Pickford goes back to like the 1910,
The
man,
silent
19,
era.
yeah, silent era,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
But she was just a force of nature back then. She did all these films, and her her great like niece or some I guess unearthed all of this stuff and decided to like redo it, refurbish all this stuff and wanted to, redo all the music to it. So it's not kind of like silent film music, so it's more like orchestral, more film score kind of music.
Wow. So
And
so let me get this. Let me try to get my arms around this. So Mary Pickford, I'm showing off a little of my film knowledge. I grew up in my dad's movie theater, so I know a little bit about it. But Mary Pickford, along with I think D.W. Griffith and Charlie Chaplin and a couple others, had United Artists. They started United Artists
that's
way,
it.
way,
That's right.
way back when, during the
Right.
silent era. So my guess is so these original scores that used to come on big wide sheets and everything, and the organist or the orchestra would play the music in real time to what's going on the screen, right?
That's it. That's it.
So
That's
what
exactly
you're doing is you're taking these scores as sort of the roadmap to create an entirely new, more modern orchestral sound from these original scores. Is that kind of what you're doing?
no, literally receiving the silent film completely silent and having to watch the silent film completely silent the whole way and then sit down with it's Henry who's actually the financier and then uh um uh this other lady that we're Elena who is
Uh-huh.
actually her great niece or whatever, that is the person that kind of refurbished all the films. So we literally sit down with her and spot the film just like we were to do if it was like a brand new film, right?
So an entirely original score.
A retire entirely original
Oh,
score,
okay.
new themes, everything. And not only that, incorporating like a lot of the new type of sounds with a lot of the new wave plugins and stuff like that. So like
Yeah.
Omnisphere, Spectrasonics makes an Omnisphere plugin that has all these really cool like innovative sounds, right? And just, combining that with orchestral and coming up with these original scores for these silent films. And it's literally crazy because it's like an hour and 45 minutes worth of music the whole way,
Yeah.
right?
There's
So
no
there's
break.
no dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing. So is this one is this a collection of films or scenes, or is this one full motion picture that you're doing front to back?
it's one full motion picture. We've already done one previous one called it was called Sparrows. This was actually kind of like one of her scary films.
Uh-huh.
And that got released. It actually got some pretty cool like critical acclaim with the independent film, like like at the film festivals,
Yeah.
went to the film festivals, did really well. So so that made them want to do so many more. I mean, we're one in like 5 or 6 composer teams that they use. You know what I mean? Like, so, we get, because Mary Pickford, there's so many films. So
Right.
so they send them out. So they use, like, there's 2 or 3 other teams. We all kind of met one time, all of us at the studio, and we all sat down with Henry and Elena and talked about like what Elena's dream is, what she's trying to do with this,
Yeah.
with these films and things like this. So it was just really cool to be a part of that. And so I mean, that's exactly what we're working on right now. We're literally in the studio, writing that music. And then right now we're doing kind of like what we do is like a first pass themes, and then underscore, and then what we'll do is we'll send in like bits and pieces of the themes and get them approved and the whole thing. And it takes about it takes maybe about 8 months, maybe 9 months of like, that kind of a whole thing before it's like ready to go. Ready
Yeah, that's incredible, and I'm just fascinated by this. So you're writing the score front to back. Is the movie is it a comedy? Is it a drama? Is it a fantasy? What kind of movie are we talking about here?
Well, so this new one is more like kind of like a love story, like a romantic love story.
Okay.
I forget
Yeah.
the title of it right now.
Yeah.
Um,
But
I got,
so my guess is that, yeah, my guess is that it's, so there's going to be some romantic themes
right,
involved, and you're composing this as you go. And
exactly that.
yeah, and it's an entirely different discipline writing that way for
Yes,
picture than it is writing music for your band. I mean, it's,
yes,
you got this fusion burner going, and you just write it for the guys in the group, and you
yes,
go at it and you tear it alive. But this is an entirely different thing because you're
absolutely.
so talk about the difference, and what kind of challenge that is for you.
Well, the cool thing is me and my brother grew up doing classical music first. I mean, that's where we come from.
Hmm.
Uh, Literally, my father had us in piano since we were like 4. So like, so 4 to about 15, 16 was pretty strict classical background and study before we kind of switched over to jazz and R&B and everything else we did, hip hop, rock, whatever.
Yeah.
So that really helps, having that background, having that influence, because then it helps to all first love different classical music that you may hear, certain Shostakovich pieces, certain Prokofiev pieces, certain Rachmaninoff, certain John Williams stuff. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you get that influence now, so you don't block that out because your door is wide open because you had all that study. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that it sinks into your blood. So then when we go to write this stuff, like in the studio versus writing for a band, this stuff is more, it's definitely classical bass. You're classical bass, and then you're what you're doing is you're not really writing when I'm writing for a band, like let's say my quartet, especially the stuff that I did that was more like thrash jazz metal stuff, I'm really thinking of baseline first, baseline and kind of written like what the groove is going to be, baseline groove. That's what I'm thinking of. Left hand, what the groove is going to be, and then I would add like what the right hand or the melody or what I would be singing over it, right? In this stuff, you're more thinking of melody first, like like a simple melody, right? And that simple melody then gets accompanied by, you know, like a bed of sound after a while. So, but
Yeah.
it's always really just melody first because you want to express, that's what really kind of expresses visual emotion first, really, to be honest with. Like, visual emotion gets expressed instantly through like a melody versus groove. The groove doesn't really express the visual what's going on. Groove expresses more like your trance hypnotic feeling
Right.
that you feel when you go see a band or when you go see a
Yeah.
group. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's emotionally different, and
Yeah.
it's an entirely different thing. And a lot of times you'll hear thematically like a theme that is associated maybe with a particular character, and so you'll see a character on screen. It's like, okay, this is Anne and Annie, or this is Jacob, or whoever the characters are, and maybe they have their own theme, and then variations on that theme, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. I mean,
Yeah,
one of the biggest, I mean, obviously for all of us composers, one of the biggest uh master and teacher of that is obviously John Williams. So,
absolutely.
and you hear I mean, he's the iconic film composer right there.
He's,
So
I always say there's Mount Rushmore of composers, and then there's John Williams, who looks down on Mount Rushmore.
yeah,
You
right,
know what I mean? He's
exactly.
like floating above Mount Rushmore.
That's
He-
exactly it. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
literally he is the 20th century's, Mozart,
yeah. Well, I mean,
Mozart.
we before I was aware of John Williams, like I said, again, growing up in my dad's theater, you hear these old scores. It was Henry Mancini,
Yes, right.
Burt Bacharach, even
Yeah.
Bernard Herrmann,
Mhm.
all these guys, and they were
Tony
Jerry
Bernstein.
Goldsmith. I mean, they were wonderful, amazing composers, right?
Yes.
And then John Williams comes along, and it was an entirely different thing. Of course, he was a jazzer prior to all
Yes, he
all
was.
the but
I later on I did some digging and I found his stuff, especially him doing some left hand stuff on piano, which was insane. Like he
yeah,
had
he could
that.
play, right?
Yeah, he could play for sure.
Yeah. We're speaking with Cameron Graves. Cameron, of course, keyboard player, Los Angeles based, who has played all kinds of music, jazz, funk, soul, fusion, incorporates hip hop. You've got a band called West Coast Get Down. What a great name for a band, by the way. That's awesome. What can you tell us about the group and the members?
Oh man, the West Coast Get Down is a great story because it's a long story. It's almost like a chronicle.
Has
I
a real
mean,
evolution to it.
it really does. I mean, we've all known each other for maybe, 25 years now, 30 years, and like since high school. And we come from the different high schools kind of in the late 90s, early 2000s that were cultivating these young musicians because it was really all about that. This was during the time when the music business was like at the height of the music business. The medium for which music was being released was in CD form, which was such a valuable asset. So that's why it was so like I always say 1899 for a CD. You sell 1 million units of that. I mean, you just know the kind of money coming in. So I mean, this was it. And record companies were huge. You wanted to get signed. It's all about getting signed. The record company get that record deal, A&R, manager, agent. You got the whole totem pole. It was all about this, right? So like a lot of schools and band leaders back in the late 90s were coming from the 70s. Were teaching the kids in the late 90s, just we had the greatest teachers. We have Billy Higgins and Gerald Wilson and Kenny Burrell and like all these guys. I mean, those guys were at UCLA, but we graduated and like we all kind of went to UCLA. Me, Kamasi Washington, Miles Mosley, and then some of us went to Cal Arts. So we all grew up out here. We're all born and raised Los Angeles, grew up out here, went to high school in the different high schools, Jefferson High, LA High, Hamilton High, Locke High School. And then we all came together through actually a teacher named Reggie Andrews, very iconic teacher from Los Angeles. And then we were all kind of doing separate gigs until Kamasi kind of brought us together on one of his gigs, one gig that he booked, and we all came together. It was the 10 of us, And that's when we knew we had a sound. Miles Mosley found a club in Hollywood called the Piano Bar. We parked ourselves at the piano bar for like a good 12 to 13 years, and we just just blew that club wide open, man. I mean,
That's
after a while it
great.
was just like a line around the door.
So the
And
house band, basically.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's no longer there. It's been long bulldozed. There's a whole brand new hotel structure there at that whole block. It's a done.
Yeah, that'll kill you. That those. It's tough to see those places go.
Yeah.
And
But it was definitely a birthing ground for the
yeah,
West Coast Football.
yeah,
And then Kamasi blows up. And then once Kamasi blows up, West Coast Get Down just totally backed him. And so now we've been touring now a lot with Kamasi,
that's
so
fantastic. That's fantastic.
all over the
Where
world.
can folks check out the music of West Coast Get Down and your other music? Where's the best place to go?
Well, the best place to go really is Spotify. I mean, you can look me up, Cameron Graves, on Spotify, and you can get both my records for sure.
Great,
And
great.
then also all the Kamasi Washington records are on Spotify as well. So if you look up Kamasi Washington,
Terrific,
you know,
terrific.
you know,
Spotify is
YouTube is another place where you can also
yeah,
put
YouTube.
yep,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
Now we were talking ahead of time a little bit, and you were telling me a little bit about, and I think this tends to be the trend these days with less touring and more specific, sort of just mini spurts along the way, a few dates in a row, and that's kind of what you told me that you're doing a bit with Stanley Clarke, the great bass virtuoso composer, dating back all the way to the early '70s with Chick Corea and Return to Forever, and all the way through Return to Forever, really from day one right until the end, and of course his own storied solo career and
Mhm.
collaborations with George
Sure.
Duke, among others.
Mm.
Amazing. So you're out there playing with Stanley Clarke, who I'm sure was a hero to you, an inspiration to you.
Yeah.
Um, that's just got to be just wonderful. Here, you pinch yourself maybe that you're on stage and you're looking across, out there just a few feet away, and there he is. Um, when you got the call, you first heard, "Hey, I'd like you to come out with me." What was your reaction?
Oh wow. So I mean, I had met Stanley when I was about 16, along with I was with Stephen Bruner and Ronald Bruner and Kamasi Washington. Those are the guys now.
Yeah,
And and Ronald Bruner was like a virtuoso drummer, like a young virtuoso drummer.
yeah,
He was 15 years old, and he was just bouncing off the walls. He had like ADHD, but he was like he could eat up anybody on the drums at that point. It was amazing. And Stanley saw that. Stanley wanted him. He met all of us, and he wanted Ronald. He finally got Ronald. Ronald was the first one to join Stanley's band. We were all kind of super young, 19, 18, 19. Ronald joined. Ronald was there for about maybe like good 9 years uh, before Stanley started to really tune into all of us, like Kamasi and me and Miles and Steven. I mean, you knew about Steven too because Ronald would bring his brother around Steven.
yeah.
But anyway, so later, it wasn't until way later on, after the piano bar, after all the big buzz about the piano bar, because I was working a lot with Stanley's son too, as well, Chris Clarke, who's like a rapper. And I do a lot of tracks. Me and Taylor do a lot of hip hop tracks and
Yeah.
trap stuff. We do all that stuff, right? So we were working a lot with his son. His son would come through to the piano bar, also to his stepdaughter, Natasha Grama. She's also a singer, and she sings a lot with Stanley too. Like Stanley oftentimes like features her. She would also come through. So his kids kind of knew about us. We were all hanging out at the piano bar. And that's when he kind of started keying into me, because I think he may have came through to the piano bar at one point. And then he called me. I got the call. Uh, but I got the call. to play keyboards. And so at first I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense because I've been playing piano this whole time. Like, is it why? So he wants me on keyboards. Okay, so let me figure this out because I got to figure out it's a whole different thing, man.
Yeah.
Um, and so I get to the rehearsal, and then there's this other piano player there named Becca Gochishvili. He's like a
Oh yeah.
really young kid. He's from Georgia,
Yeah.
and me and him just kind of made got became friends like instantly. This guy, this guy is probably the best piano player on the planet right now. I mean, I mean, but there's Yuzha Wang, so we can't forget that there is Yuzha Wang. She is insanely insane.
Yeah.
But Yuzha Wang, I still have yet to hear her improvise. The thing about Becca is like Becca is a genius. She's a genius piano player. Insane. You know, there's a lot of insane piano players, but I'm telling you, Becca is he's up there. Anyway, so and so we would go back and forth all the time. Me and Becca would we would start like doing just trading solos and everything. We built this sound between me, him, and a drummer named Mike Mitchell,
Uh-huh.
young guy from Dallas, Texas, another crazy genius on drums. I've never seen anybody play drums like. I mean, I have to say, Ronald Bruner is somebody that is the first person I've never seen playing drums like that. But then there was Mike Mitchell, and it was like, wow, man. So it was just this amazing band that we put together with Stanley, and that went for about like a good 10, maybe 8 7 8 years that we were with Stanley. It was me, Becca, and Mike, and we were doing so much touring with Stanley, and it was kind of like the Stanley Clarke School of Music for us, because uh, Stanley really helped all three of us to really dig further, and especially me because I was coming from piano, only playing piano. I was playing keyboards, and it really helped me for like orchestration and film scoring because now I had to figure out different sounds, different textures, pads, filters, all kinds of other things that I had to explore, which was, it just I grew up so much playing with Stanley Clarke.
That's fantastic. It's an amazing story, and uh, and the whole thing with keyboards versus coming from just straight piano. Like you'd said, all the sounds, filters, textures, pads, and so forth
Right.
is going to totally alter, in a good way. I would imagine your compositional process. It's like,
It
okay,
does.
I never would have thought of that passage or that thing happening on piano because it's one sound. I mean, yeah,
Exactly.
you can go in and pluck the strings and do certain things with the piano, but it's essentially the piano itself. But now
Right.
you've got a palette of 1,000 different sounds,
It's
um,
totally different. Yes.
and it's got to be, initially when you first make that sort of leap. I'm guessing that it's got to be a little bit daunting, a little, could be frightening, even, intimidating. But then once you really get your head around it all, it it's limitless.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Especially once you get familiar with a keyboard that you really like, and you start getting to know how to dive into it and manipulate it. It becomes a lot of fun. And you can really you you can really develop a sound inside of that too as well. And
Yeah,
and the cool what was interesting is uh being with Stanley, playing with two piano players at the same time. So Stanley doesn't he hates when things get clustered. He hates when it gets too cluttered and too clustered, right? So that was really actually good for me because usually when two piano players get together, like the other piano player will usually choose Rhodes. So it'll be Rhodes and piano.
right.
And it's true, like a lot of times piano players will step on each other because both of them are playing Now you got now you got 20 fingers, 20 fingers worth of chords. So, and so the one thing that Stanley would oftentimes stress to me many times was, to dig deeper for different type of ideas
Yeah.
around what Becca was doing, because Becca's already playing the piano player part, which is the chords, the cluster chords, outlining the chord changes. So for me, that's when I started coming up with things like marimba kind of stuff and harp stuff and pad stuff and bells, certain little bell things that just added. And actually, we came up with this whole innovative thing of putting orchestrations behind drum solos, because after a while people would get really bored, because if you do a 15-minute drum solo, like 15, drum solos are really cool, but after a while it's like, whoa, man, you can wear people out with drum solos. So it's the orchestration really kind of it opens it up more.
Yeah.
It's like this whole thing, it becomes a whole experience, a full picture. It's really, really cool. We started innovating with crazy ideas like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like a rhythmic soundscape almost, like you're really
Yeah.
orchestral drumming in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. We're speaking with
Hey,
Cameron Graves.
yeah.
He, of course, a keyboardist combining multiple styles of music, and he's also doing some scoring now for a very, very unique and fun project with his brother, the Graves brothers, together. Which we
Yeah.
can't wait. We can't wait to hear this. Will we get an opportunity down the line to check this out?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you can check out Sparrows now
Ah,
on Spotify as well. Sparrows.
and is it under your name or the Graves brothers, or how's it?
No, that should be under Mary Pickford. If you look at
Okay,
under
under Mary Pickford.
Yeah,
Okay,
right. If you're looking for film scoring type stuff.
okay.
Uh, but obviously, you can always check out the Graves Brothers. We do have a project out called the Graves Brothers that we put out, and that is also on Spotify. So everything is on Spotify.
Everything's on Spotify. All
Mhm.
right. Well, folks, there you go. Spotify is the place to go to track the great music of Cameron Graves, his brother. Your brother's name one more time is first name
Taylor Graves.
Taylor Graves. Taylor
Taylor
Graves.
Graves,
So
yeah.
it's the Graves brothers. It's Cameron Graves and the Mary Pickford Project. It's all at Spotify.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, and we'd love to have you back. By the way, this is a blast. I really am
Yeah.
enjoying this very much. Um, you know, the challenges that lie ahead. Like you're always the thing with this kind of music. You're not locked into one thing, or people expect just sort of you're going in multiple directions, which is
Yeah.
fantastic and exciting. Is there an area, is there a place that you haven't done, you haven't explored yet, that you're thinking, wow, I'd love to get into that?
My mind is crazy. I always come up with different crazy things, like, I would love to experiment, do some stuff with opera singers. I've always had a thought about that, you know what I mean? Where you combine metal, like hard metal, but then you have an opera singer on top of it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I know that's a crazy thing, because because you're taking away the screamer and you put the opera singer on top of it.
Yeah.
The other one that I wanted to experiment with is take away the opera singer, you keep the crazy metal band, put a gospel singer on top of it,
Oh,
right? So
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
there's a lot of fusions that could happen
Yeah, there are a lot of
that could
fusion.
be
People, when
powerful.
they say the word fusion, they immediately think, well, okay, so we're talking jazz rock, which is, certainly the foundation.
Foundation.
But
That's
but
it.
but it can go in so many directions, and it has
It
begun to
can.
really just explode, and
It can, and it
the
has.
universe
And
is endless.
they're doing some cool stuff out in Japan and out in Korea, actually. I have a Korean cat that I talk to all the time, that he comes out here all the time, and he's telling me about all the different like projects that they have, all the different bands he's showing me. And they are combining some serious stuff out there. They're doing some craziness. South Korea and especially in Japan, like in Tokyo. I have another friend of mine, a guitar player, who's with a band they're really getting into a lot of rock and metal out there
Yeah,
in Tokyo. It's pretty cool.
that's
It's just
great.
fun, man. It's
Do you
really fun.
do you find that last thing? Do you find when you play in other places, other spots outside the U.S. or even within inside the U.S., different cities? I mean, are there? Do you find that there are um, big differences with certain audiences? Like, they're either maybe more reserved but really listening, or they're more really actively involved. I guess passive versus active audiences. Do you ever experience that?
There's definitely that. Absolutely. I mean, uh, yes, European audiences are different are different than Asian audiences, which are different than American audience for sure.
Yeah.
Though there's three different type of audiences. Europeans uh really love music, right? So they really love the notes, the harmonies, the melodies, the intricacies of the syncopations, the chord changes. They're listening to all of that. Um, the Asian audiences definitely appreciate the newness of the sound. They love this new sound, and then they love how the execution of the new sound, like
Hmm.
how well you're able to execute that new sound, and they're just in awe about that. Like, wow, man, that's so they love that. And then you have American audiences. American audiences, I hate to say it, can't really hear the intricacies in music like that. Unfortunately, we've lost that that understanding. But what we do, what is really cool about American audiences is they will cheer you on, man. They're the loudest. They're like they love the groove, they love the funk, they love the song, especially if you're singing some really good stuff like lyrics and you're telling some
Yeah.
really good stories. And the American audiences are the ones that are like yell back at you like, yeah, like, come on, play that thing and all that stuff, which
Yeah,
is
oh yeah. Now I can remember
that's
that go to
love
concerts
that.
in the
Yeah.
80s, go to see Herbie and Chick and Stanley and all these guys, and they'd be like, the woo, all the people
Oh,
go,
that
just they're into it.
people go crazy. Yeah.
I wonder, you brought about the American audiences don't quite have what you saw in Europe and Asia, but I wonder if it's possibly due to we've pulled back, unfortunately, pulled back a lot on music education in schools. And I wonder if that has something to do with it. I don't know.
It has everything to do with our whole society and everything that we are and everything that we do out here. Like
Yeah,
it's all of that. It's all of it. It's the whole thing.
yeah,
Like so, and music education has unfortunately deteriorated because of who we are and how we operate out here in the US, with
yeah. No,
everything.
it is frustrating and disheartening, and I always hold out hope that it'll be rekindled in some way, but we can only hope. And we could try,
Yeah,
and we can try
yeah.
and get it out
Yeah.
there and keep putting the music out there.
Well, the good
Cameron,
thing is the world is actually leading that cultural revolution right now because they do believe in a lot of the great stuff that the a lot of American musicians are doing today still.
yeah,
All the new stuff that's coming out. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Cameron, thank you so much for this. I've been wanting to get you on for some time, and I'm glad we got
Yeah,
our schedules to mesh here and make this happen. And we'd love to have you on again, talk music, continue to talk
absolutely,
music.
man.
Thank you so much. Cameron
Thank you.
Graves, my guest. Find him on Spotify. I guess is your site, your web. What's your website?
Well, my website is virtuosaria.com. That's my complete website. That's my piano academy.
Virtuosaria and Spotify. Cameron
Yeah,
Graves. There he is. And certainly want to get him back on. Again, continued success with everything you're doing. You are watching the Fusion Share podcast. I'm Tom Alexander. We thank you for watching and thank you for listening.
thanks,
You,
Tom.
thank you. So long, everybody.